get started. I'm going to call the May 12, 2026 Salinas Finance Committee meeting to order, and note for the record that Zoom webinar participation is available for members of the public. The Zoom webinar ID and link are available on the posted agenda on the city website. With that, we'll stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's call the roll.
Councilmember D'Arrigo.
Present.
Councilmember De La Rosa.
Here.
Mayor Donahue.
I am here. All right. Anybody who wishes to make a general public comment or comment on a specific agenda item can do so. They will be public comment will be 2 minutes, and we are open for public comment on items that are not on the agenda and are in the city of Salinas' subject matter jurisdiction. So we are now open for public comment. 2 minutes. Okay, seeing none. Anybody Zooming? Okay, nobody on Zoom. And then I'll turn it over to you for the Levin Act.
California Government Code 84308, Levine Act. Do any members of the committee have any campaign contributions to disclose related to any items on today's agenda? Councilmember D'Arrigo.
No.
Councilmember De La Rosa.
No.
Mayor Donahue.
Nope. All right, with that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Item 26-209, the minutes of April 7, 2026. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second? All right, call for the roll. For the vote.
Councilmember D'Arrigo.
Yes.
Councilmember De La Rosa.
Yes.
Mayor Donahue.
Yep. All right.
Motion passes.
I have a perfect record for minutes passing, so that's all right. We're now going to consider stuff. So, Nathan, we're looking for you to talk about the Future Citizens Foundation.
All right. Good afternoon, council members, mayor, finance committee in general, directors. My name is Nathan Q, your Deputy Director of Economic Development. Today, I have the pleasure of presenting to you the opportunity to present to council the review and approval of a new sublease agreement, a long-term sublease agreement between the city of Salinas and First Tee on that. Really what it's going over is establishing a new 20-year term commencing from July 1st, 2026 for 20 years, and then a one-time extension of 10 years. During that agreement, the annual rent will be about $60,000 rated through November 1st, 2026. Then afterwards in phase 2, a reduction to a nominal rent of $1 per year during the remainder of the term. So because of that, the amount of return on investment, but also the immense community impact and the opportunity cost of what it was like to run the Twin Creeks Golf Course on there, we felt that this was warranted on there. A little bit about the background in general. So the county owns the land, and we lease it from them for about 99 years on that for a $1 lease back. So moving forward from there, in 2004, we entered into a sublease agreement regarding it to First Tee, and they've been operating it for us since then. This original agreement has been amended twice. So in 2012, the rent was reduced from $287,500 per year to $125,000 per year in response to the financial hardships of that time period. And then once again in 2015 to reduce it down to $60,000. And that extended out to June 30th, 2025. That brought it out to current times of this last year, where it was extended one more time, where we are today. So the city does not wish to operate the golf course, and we've determined entering into a new long-term agreement with First Tee is beneficial in the best interests of the city and provides the appropriate accountability and performance measure. We view this as an economic development and a workforce development opportunity, albeit if they do meet those performance and reporting measures. They're required to report once a year to us in September and provide that report with the opportunity to report to council. And then they have to have a minimum of 80% of the youth programming participants are residents of Salinas across all their programs. From a fiscal standpoint, their proposed agreement results a reduction from $60,000 a year to $1 per year, effective November 1st, 2026. That amount will be prorated during that term up to November 1st, which will equate to about $20,000. This is in alignment with the city's final bond payment of $433,500 due November 1st, eliminating the city's remaining debt obligation on the facility. And next, I'll ask Nick Nelson, the CEO of First Tee, to come up and talk a little bit about the community benefit agreements, and afterwards, both of us will be available for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Nathan.
And then let Nick dive into some of the specifics. I am a board member on First Tee. I've been involved with it for several years. And I just want to explain some of the things. Over the last 25, 30 years, I've been involved with a lot of community boards. And I was on Hartnell's Board of Trustees. We had a lot of talks about, in that arena, about how do we get our kids prepared for the workforce. And what I've seen is we have this group. We have First Tee, we've got Boys and Girls Club, and we've got a couple of others in the area that since around 94, 97, have significantly contributed to our children in getting them prepared for the workforce and getting them out of crime. If you look at the statistics, back in 94, 95, 96, we had an incredible homicide rate, et cetera. Gangs were prevalent. We still obviously have work to do. But one of the interesting things at Hartnell and working with the Workforce Investment Board was the discussion about how children and how young employees go into the workforce, and what are some of those things that give them an upper hand and set them up for success. First Tee teaches those. It's not just a golf program. It's about a code of conduct, and it's about teaching them life skills that they can take from sitting in a classroom, learning these things, getting it reinforced through the golf course. But the things that on the code of conduct that they're taught from day one, and it's continued throughout their classes and participation in First Tee, is that you're taught to respect yourself, you're taught to respect your environment, and you're taught to respect others. Those are some of the foundations that we've talked about for years about how can we get our people to get ready for the workforce. And it's really about these things: respect yourself, the environment, and others. We also teach them through life skills, self-management, interpersonal communication, goal setting, and resilience. And so those are the things that we do. That's how we raise money in the community to pay for the staff members, et cetera, that spend time with these kids and teach them some really core values. And what we have done on the board, not only are we paying for the staff, et cetera, but we're also contributing significant capital in terms of buildings, et cetera. So there's a Taylor building at the facility that are a bunch of classrooms. And so these weren't there when we started. It was an empty golf course and couple of small buildings, and that was basically it. So the motive behind First Tee has not been to just run a golf course. That's part of what we can use to pay for operations if that's possible. But the bottom line is the money that goes into this is coming from the community. And part of my job on the board is to link the community with our with our group so that we have the funds and we put on fundraisers, et cetera, so that these kids can learn these skills in this environment. I'll just highlight really quickly the benefits of this agreement. Number one, the city is not out anything. We're paying $60,000, yes, per year, but it's going to the debt. So it's a net zero at the end of the day. I think that's pretty key. In terms of any thought of contributing resources, et cetera, or gaining resources, the bottom line is the work that these kids do and where it sets them is worth any kind of investment, either from the private community or from the city of Salinas, because we're not having to work with kids through the prison system. We've got a lot of kids that are just doing incredibly well. Part of that, I learned today in our board meeting, was that we've got 2 young graduates that are in Harvard Business School. And that's not uncommon. And so Nick can provide you with more of the detail, but I just wanted to give you a high level kind of expectation and explanation to you and the community about what First Tee is all about. And it's not just golf. That's just used as the reinforcer, if you will. It's about being in class. It's about being productive after school, sometimes during school, and it's an incredible program. So thank you, and here's Nick.
Thank you, Aaron.
Mr. Mayor, council members, city manager, thank you for this opportunity to be here today to share a little bit about our First Tee program and the benefit that we bring to the community. I've been very fortunate to have been with the organization since its inception in 2002, when the Monterey Peninsula Foundation first began looking into bringing a chapter of the First Tee to Monterey County. It was spearheaded by John Zoller, and he spoke to Ollie Nutt, the CEO at the time, and said, we need to bring the First Tee program to Monterey County. Our kids need it. We pursued a venture on the peninsula in Seaside, didn't come about. And then we had a phone call from the city manager, and they said, hey, we've got a 9-hole golf course out here. Would you like to come take a look at that? And our board members came out, and the CEO came out, and we met with the city manager and the mayor at the time. And they said, okay, here's the golf course. You can use that for the First Tee programming. We need it here. And so we signed the deal and began programming in 2004. Can't believe it's been 22 years. But I hope I don't look any different. Yeah, right. So I would like to just hit on some of the highlights. Aaron, thank you so much for your great introduction. And I was better this morning in my board meeting. Oh, there we go. So today's decision, it can be viewed as being, oh dear, $60,000, $59,999 out of the city revenue. But it's so much more than that. It's an investment into the youth of this city. And the choices that are really made here today and at full council is going to shape that. There's no two ways about it. Just a quick review, just some of the highlights. That we're now in our 22nd year of serving youth in Monterey County and Salinas. We are number one in our peer group in the First Tee network. There are 160 chapters nationwide. There are also international leasing chapters. And we're number one of our peer group. There are many different types of chapters. They're not all large, robust organizations like ourselves. Some are little small mom-and-pop operations. But so they classify everybody into different peer groups so that it'll be fair to compare chapters. We've impacted over 137,000 youth cumulatively since 2004, and we serve 13,000 youth every year. That was 2025. We're hoping, our goal is to reach 25,000 children throughout Monterey County, and it was part of a 7-year strategic plan, and we're 3 years away from that, which might actually tie in with my retirement, maybe. But anyway, 48% of the participants are female. It's an incredible statistic. 96% of participants are minorities. When we first began, it didn't look like that at all. It was basically what we call golf culture kids who knew about the program, whose parents or grandparents knew about golf, and they brought them along. We had 100 kids to start with, and as I say, it was probably 86% Caucasian. We realized that didn't reflect the city, didn't reflect the county, and we made a strategic attempt to serve the children of Salinas and of Monterey County. And I think we've done a really good job with that. Interesting to note, 65% of the coaches who teach the children are former participants themselves. So we have a continuous cycle. The children will come into the program in 4th grade. We just began working with some schools in K and TK because the teachers are now saying that that's where the problems lie. They don't lie in the 4th, 5th, and 6th grades anymore. It's with the younger children. And so a lot of these children, they'll start off in the program, and then they want to give back, and they come back, and then they're now, again, teaching children what they learned several years earlier in their life. We serve 31 different Salinas schools in 4 different districts. Obviously, that's a larger number throughout the county, but just focusing in on Salinas. The Salinas Youth Participation, I think that's a good map. You can look at the 2 main zip codes there, 93901 and 93905 especially. We target the children who are at highest risk, the highest DCI, the Distressed Community Index, and the highest concentration of elevated crime conditions. That, as you all know and are fully aware, that has come down significantly in the last 10, 15 years, which is a fantastic job for the entire community, through CASP, through nonprofit organizations, through the city, and through other organizations. I think that we all deserve a pat on the back. And I enjoyed listening to the police chief last year during a CASP meeting, and the question was, he says, well, Chief, how do you explain the reduction in crime so much? He said, and this is words that straight out of his mouth, and he said, someone's getting to them when they're younger. And I think that the First Tee is part of that group of organizations who've been able to reach the children younger and to teach them that you need to respect others, you need to respect yourselves, you need to respect your surroundings, or you're not going to get on in life, or you're going to end up in the clink. The education outcomes, the First Tee Home Office is very particular on outcomes. They like to prove what we say. And you can see there, this is just locally, this was conducted independently by the Alisal Union School District and a company called Data Design. And they have researched and conducted and compiled data. And children who are involved in the First Tee program in the Alisal District score better in chronic absenteeism than their district peers. And they also perform better in the English language. Many also perform better in math as well, but that is an area that we still want to do a little bit more work in, is to improve the math rates for the state testing. And you might say, well, that's not much, Nick, but these small gains, they transfer into huge, immense gains as over a long-term period of time. Additionally, we also operate a scholarship program called the Pay It Forward Scholarship and Mentoring Program. This is in conjunction with CSUMB. We have a partnership with CSUMB, and basically we provide $20,000 scholarships to first-generation college-bound high school graduates. The requirements are not too stringent. For example, it's only like a 2.75 GPA, so they don't have to be the best in their class, but they do have to be local, and they do have to be the first generation to college. We currently, there have been 219 scholars served through the program. 84% of these high school graduates, when they enter college, graduate. 84%. 61% of all of these high school graduates, these college students, graduate within 4 years. That's compared to the national average of between 24 and 27%. You can say, well, why does that happen? Because we apply the same concepts, the same life skills, core values to these young adults as well. They're required to meet certain standards of attendance. We give them a young First Tee member to mentor, and they also get a community mentor to give back. There are approximately 28,000 mentoring hours invested in student success. So you can see it's not rocket science, it's relationships, and it changes the path and the direction of the youth of Salinas. If you do look at the economic case, it's really quite fascinating. During the research to present this to you today, each high school graduate generates approximately almost $500,000 in lifetime economic value through higher earnings, taxes paid, and reduced social costs. I've been conservative with these numbers because that isn't taking into consideration the extra value to the community with college graduations or doctorate degrees. And again, all the information has been pulled from various independent authorities. This one here is from the University of Pennsylvania Center for Benefit Cost Analysis. So if we look at the $60,000 that we're talking about changing to $1, the break-even point for the city is 2 graduates. That's it. Looking at the graduation numbers that we just showed you from Pay It Forward, the economic generator for the city of Salinas is going to be dramatic. Looking at the cost of crime and prevention, this was very interesting. In 2007, our board made a strategic decision to go after younger children, to change the lives of younger children. And we looked at our location, and again, when I look back and the serendipity of it, it's really incredible. We were supposed to be where we are. We weren't supposed to be on the peninsula. We were supposed to be in Salinas. Our backyard backs onto East Salinas, where all the trouble, most of the trouble was generated. We looked at the statistics and were horrified, as everybody was. And our board said, we need to start a program, and we will get these kids involved into the First Team Monterey County. We'll teach them life skills and core values. We'll show them the code of conduct, and it'll change their lives. And it'll change this very fabric of the community. We did so. We called the I don't know if this is PC nowadays, but back, in 2007 it was okay, but we were going gangbusters. And the absolute decision was to show the kids a different way of life. They didn't have to choose unlawfulness. They could work hard and they could be a success. I always remember talking to children when we first started, and you ask them what they want to be when they grow up, and they'd say always the same thing: teacher, mechanic, policeman, sometimes a fireman, all the time, everybody, boy, girl, didn't matter. We had a group go out to Pebble Beach to carry standard bearers during the Pure Insurance Championship, and Jim Nance was interviewing some of the children, just on spec. They were carrying the boards, and he was on hole number 2, and he leaned over and he said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I was expecting to hear the same comments. And one said, "A pediatrician." The other one said, "Stenographer." The other one said another word in the medical industry. And so just exposing children to new opportunities, to a different lifestyle, and to help them to believe that they can live a lifestyle that they've only dreamed of or seen other people do. It's earth-shattering. The annual cost of crime to Salinas taxpayers is $297 million. So the math is simple. $60,000 invested in prevention, or $100,000 for one incarceration. I did want to just bring up a point with the golf course as well. It's not a profit center. It does cost money to operate it. It doesn't make money. But our board, and again, this is money that is being given to us to operate the program and to change children's lives. But without the golf course, we wouldn't be able to operate the program. We can't operate the program, we can't change children's lives. And so they see it as part of programming costs. So again, if the city was to want the golf course back, it would be a big financial burden to the city. We've invested heavily into it, but again, the reason is so that we can bring the children out to, they think it's a private park when they first come out. They're like, I live across the street and I thought this was a private park and all this green grass, I can't believe it. And they're rolling around in it and having fun. And so it's life-changing. And I look at this, and I haven't done a very good job of this. I'll take responsibility for this. I haven't been a good sort of vocal partner with the city. I haven't come to the council meetings enough and shared how grateful we are to the city, for this relationship. And I want to do a better job with that as we move on. But it is a tremendous public benefit. As Aaron mentioned, I think Nathan mentioned it, the city leases the property from the county for $1 a year, and we're just really asking for the same reciprocity. That's a tough word. The city will retain ownership. Nothing will change, and there really is no risk for the city, but the return is dramatic. And it's little guys like this. There are many different ways that we will use that money, and we'll use it with being good stewards. But bottom line, we can reach 300 more children with that money every year. That's 3,000 youth over 10 years, expanded school partnerships. We just got a new partnership with the Santa Rita School District, which we're excited about. And again, it creates a stronger workforce pipeline. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all I have to say.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see, any question, comments from Margaret?
Sure, I've got both. I'm very familiar with the program, and thank you, Aaron and Nick, for sharing the data. That I've not seen those slides before, and that was quite eye-opening. It's a great program. I've spent a lot of time out there. I was actually one of the scholars for the FTMC program. When I signed up for it, I didn't know it was a 4-year commitment, and I got freaked out, like, how am I going to take care of this young woman for 4 years? But she made it really, really easy, and got a job in the ag industry, so I'm really proud of my mentee and the hours that she spent back on campus mentoring others as well. So I think it's a fantastic program. A couple of my questions are, is there a cost for the program for the participants, or is that fully funded?
That's a great question. So we do charge a membership fee, and so if a family wants to come in and be part of the first tee, there is a membership fee. However, we provide scholarships for everyone, and all of the school districts that we work with, all of the students who attend the school districts that we work with, it's all free. We give away almost $1 million in scholarships every year to students within Salinas City.
That's what I thought, yeah. And you don't turn people away, which I think is
Never.
wonderful.
Never.
Let's see, do you have any plans for expansion? I know you're kind of landlocked out there, but do you have any plans for more? I know the tutoring center is really popular, and
that again, Margaret, that's a lovely question, Council Member. There's the golf course is part of a larger plot of land. A few years ago, we had some problems issuing from the overgrowth that was there, and we took care of that at our expense. And when we looked at it, and we're like, oh my gosh, this could be an amazing new area that we could use. And my board's like, whoa, hold on a second. So absolutely yes, all they can see is a capital campaign, coming down the road at them, but we would love to expand. And certainly, absolutely, we're always expanding to reach more children in Salinas and the county, definitely. We expanded into King City, 3 years ago. That's not true. We began programming in King City 12 years ago. We took over the golf course 3 years ago, 2 months before it flooded, and it hasn't opened up fully yet. So we're sort of managing that. But yes, we want to reach our goal ultimately, or the dream, will be to reach every single child in the county.
thank you. And I love your stat about the 25% of coaches were former participants. I think that's what makes the magic there happen.
Totally.
And that's why it continues to grow and grow, and I hope you meet your goal of 25,000. And I think it's an incredible investment that the city should continue to do, and I support it 100%. I see the good work out there, and I know you also have a lot of private funding as well, very generous donors who believe in your mission, and the results are there.
Yeah.
You can see them. So thank you for the presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, the ag business are amazing supporters. Originally we had 80% of the funding came from the peninsula, and 80% of the expenses were in Salinas, and it's flipped completely the other way around now. We're blessed. In fact, we've just started a program about a year ago where the employees of some ag companies are now donating money out of their paycheck weekly to the program because their children are in the program. It might only be $1, it might be $10, but it's a phenomenal program, and we're creating, brand new era of philanthropists. So it's pretty special.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
How wonderful.
It really is.
How
It's
wonderful,
fantastic.
because ag is always given to our community.
Yeah.
So here's another
Yeah.
one that ag is giving back.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm very familiar with the program, and
you.
I'm so happy to see it. It has grown throughout the years.
Thank you.
And you have expanded a lot of other schools.
Yes.
Because when you started, it was small, and now it's an expansion. I just have a question.
Yes.
What is the membership fee right now?
So it's, I believe it's $150 a year. And so so again, there's that dividing line that you have to walk. Whereas if it's free, then a lot of people don't appreciate it. We, originally we had it for free right across the board. And our follow-through rate, if we had a special field trip or something, was 50%. So we started we charged $25 a year, and it went up to 60%. And we charged $50 a year, and it went up to 70%. And we charged $100 a year, and we got up to, I think it was like 95% follow-through rate. It was phenomenal. So we do have that. Like I say, we do offer scholarships, and every child that we work with through the school programs, and that's really our bread and butter, is where we bus children from the schools during school time, Monday to Friday, to the campus. And that's totally free.
That's great.
Thank you. Thank you.
So anyone
Yes.
can participate?
Absolutely.
And become a member?
Yes.
If you live in Salinas or?
Monterey County. Our
Monterey
chapter is
County.
Monterey County, yeah. That's our territory.
Yeah.
There's another chapter north of us, Silicon Valley, and they do another great job. And then further up, in San Francisco, there's another chapter, and we'll work. The saying in the first tee is, once you've seen one first tee, you've seen one first tee. And like, what does that mean? And so we're all different. We're all bound by the same guidelines that the Home Office creates. But depending on the area, on the budget, on the community, on the need, et cetera, they give us the flexibility. So we're very fortunate. We've got a very philanthropic community. Sadly, we have a big need as well. And so for us, it just works, that we've built our budget up to over $6 million now a year.
Well, those are my questions, and I'll wait for comments. Thank you so much, and it's so good seeing you, and thank you for all the great work that you have been doing, and
Thank you.
I'm very supportive of the program.
Thank you, Councilmember. Thank you. Appreciate that. We have a wonderful staff. We really do.
All right. Let's see if there's any public comment. All right. Seeing none. Anybody zooming? All right. Nobody is. So we will bring this back. I don't see one.
Do we have hands raised?
No, I don't see one. Oh, now I do, Samsung. All right.
Go ahead.
Jose,
Hi,
go
good
ahead.
afternoon. Jose Gara, Montebello Community. How are you? Awesome. Great program. Love it. My only question is this. When will we run out of funding for that program? Is that going to be funded every 20 years? You have a lease on that from what I was listening to. Is it going to be funded yearly after that, or is it going to be funded every 20 years? And then can anybody join it? Can anybody be part of the first team? Can any family want to go there and say they don't have any resources? Can they be part of the first tee and not have to pay a fee? Those are questions I'd like to know. And then also, I'm glad Ag is actually stepping up and helping people get better. And I'm glad that it does deter kids from doing other things in the streets. I appreciate that. That is awesome. Those are all my comments. Thank you very much. Great job, guys. I hope you guys vote for it. Sounds like a good idea. Thank you, guys. Have a great day. God bless you.
All right, thank you. All right, anybody? What, was that one of the same?
Samsung, go
Samsung.
ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Bueno, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Gabriela García y mi comentario es acerca de el programa. Es sumamente bueno, pero venimos ofreciendo lo mismo para las generaciones de ustedes y la mía, y no les ofrecemos nada nuevo, nada innovador, nada divertido, nada diferente a la generación actual, que es tan diferente a la nuestra. Entonces sí me gustaría que agregaran algo más divertido, más de impacto, más de que llame la atención de la juventud de ahora, porque les estamos dando lo mismo que tuvimos nosotros y créanme que la generación de ahorita es muy diferente a la nuestra. Entonces, el programa es muy bueno, ha funcionado por mucho tiempo, pero sí me gustaría que fuera un poco más de acuerdo a la generación actual, que hubiera un poco más de teatro, de música, de arte. Entonces sí me gustaría que se agregaran cosas más divertidas, más artísticas, más de acuerdo a esta nueva era. Gracias.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Andina Garcia, and I do think the program is a good program. It's functioned for many years, but the one thing that I see is that every year it's the same. Our generation did the same things that this generation is doing, and we have to do different things. We have to improve it. We have to do things that are more fun, that are more creative, things that can really capture the attention of this generation, because this generation is not the same as our generation. We like different things, and we can't continue doing the same thing that we're doing over and over again. I mean, it has worked over time. Yes, I'm not going to say it hasn't, but I think we can improve. We can do things that can maybe make this generation want to get more involved. For example, we can have theater, music, art, things that are fun.
All right, thank you. All right. Go ahead and close public comment. So we will come back for final comments, and then looking for a motion to just move this along to council.
I have no further comments. I would like to make a motion to approve the recommendation by the Finance Committee for the First Tee program and Future Citizens Foundation.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
All right. We'll go ahead and call for the question. Just the comment I'll make, I mean, it's a terrific program, and I think it's important to underscore it in this era that it remains a really good example of public-private partnerships, and more that's, I think, certainly this local government is going to have to function, you know, because the end result is we want to serve the community. So it's been a great partnership, and so I'm certainly very supportive. And with that, we'll call for the question. And thank you for your presentation.
Councilmember DiRigo?
Yes.
Councilmember De La Rosa?
Yes.
Mayor Donahue?
Why not? Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. With that, we will proceed to a preliminary biannual budget review. And we're looking for Selena Andrews, and we have found her.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council members, Selena Andrews, Finance Director. It's a pleasure to be here. The item before you is the preliminary biennial budget, which includes fiscal years 2026-27 and 27-28. And this is the preliminary general fund and capital improvement plan budgets. Here we have a high-level overview of the biennial budget process. I think it's important to recognize that there's going to be a lot of opportunities to make adjustments because it is our first year developing the budget. That will be very critical. And going forward, this is very customary also with those agencies that adopt biennial budgets. So we start this budget process in June, where council will be presented the city manager's proposed budget and ask that it be adopted. And then in February 2027, the first year, 2026-27 budget will have a mid-year review. And then in June 2027, would be a review of the 2027-28 budget. So that's the second year because we may need to align resources. And then in February 2028, we will bring forward that 27-28 budget for review. So there's a lot of points in time when we'll have opportunities to review this two-year budget. And then in June 2028, we will be bringing the 2028-29 and 2029-30 budgets. So that's the next biennial budget should the city council continue the biennial budget adoption process. So here's how the budget process generally begins and how it is produced internally. So in December, there's a department budget kickoff meeting and training on what some of those priorities might be. Also within our accounting system, financial management system, there's also certain processes that we have to follow. So that happens in December. We update our internal budget calendar, and we're also finishing, we hope to be finishing the external audit by December 31st, because what we end up with is a fund balance that informs the budget development process, and then we begin work on mid-year. And then in January through April, we departments are making their budget recommendations, and meetings are being scheduled internally so that they can present those recommendations to the city manager. And we continue, meanwhile, finance, in collaboration with all the departments, continue to work on mid-year. And then in May, the preliminary budget is presented to various boards, including this finance committee. And going forward, our hope is that we are able to present the preliminary budget to the oversight committees as well, so measures E and G. And then we have the budget study session, which is scheduled for May 26th, so later in the month. And then again in June is the budget adoption. So council has set these priorities, and they're not listed in order of importance here. Key elements of the budget are in alignment with economic development, housing, infrastructure, city services, public safety, and youth and seniors. Now here's a condensed version of what you can find in page 3 of your staff report. And that's essentially a breakout of how this budget is basically forming. So you see the resources here, total 193 million, and 138 in 26-27. 138 million is general fund. Measure G is 18 million. And, Measure E is 18 million, and Measure G is 36.3 million. So that makes up that 193 million. And then we take all the department expenditures and carry everything over and then take in any, the city manager has approved some items to bring forward for recommendation. And those operating expenditures total 207.1 million. And as you can see, there is a variance there. So the city is working on how to balance that budget, right? How to make that variance. And so what we're looking at is the remainder of the items there is use of fund balance, reallocating CIP, and those CIPs are related to the industrial wastewater. So there is fund balance there, and so that's why we're using that budget so that we can basically bring that back to the general fund because there is fund balance in the industrial wastewater. Infrastructure reserves, facility reserves, and then there's the police development impact fee that has quite a bit of budget. So we're using that also to cover some of the police debt. And so that brings our total budget balancing strategies to that variance, the 14 million. So as you can see in year one and year two of the biennial budget, that general fund budget is balanced. So here we have some of the city manager recommended additions in fiscal year 26-27. This isn't all of them, but wanted to highlight some very important ones. And that's the Community Development Share Center. We've come to council before and talked about what that entails. The IAFF labor group negotiations, this item is being brought to council later this evening for consideration for adoption. And then there's the unfreezing 4 police officer positions, and that'll be funded out of Measure G. There's the rental assistance program that this council has communicated to the city is very important to continue forward. Now, there is oftentimes we'll budget some of these, for example, this may have been budgeted or was budgeted in the prior year, but that doesn't mean that it was all expended. So anything that's unexpended will just go back to the fund balance. And so we're recommending that it again gets budgeted at 500,000. And then there's the SAFER grant, that's the staffing for adequate fire and emergency response personnel. So that grant does expire in March, so we'll have to fund the remainder through June, and so that's included in the budget. Additional items that are being recommended are the deputy police chief, sanitary sewer payment assistance program, an administrative analyst, a code enforcement officer, a combo building inspector, an administrative clerk, and we're also have some projections in the budget for the AMPS labor group negotiations, since that contract will expire at June 30th of this year. And some in 2027-28, there's some recommendations as well being made, and that's code enforcement officer and a combo building inspector. It is important to note that all of the 26-27 recommended additions are going to carry over to the 27-28 years. So if you approve those are also going to be included in the, 2027-28 budget year. You've just heard about all these additions of staffing. So it looks, I think it's a total of 11 positions over the 2 years. And this is just a breakout. We are starting the fiscal year with a workforce of 677.5 positions. And here's a list of all the positions that are being recommended for addition in the first year and in the second year, and what that brings the workforce total to. You'll notice the firefighters in that year two, after year one. You'll see a reduction in positions. However, HR and fire are confident that this will be, that there will not be any positions that will actually need to be released because of attrition. So people leave the city, and we'll have these positions available to fill those spots, as is what generally occurs. So now we're going to, Adriana Robles will go over the capital improvement program and CIP projects for the current carryover, current year, and future years.
Good afternoon. Okay. So one of the tasks that we took on this year, along with the biannual budget process, was also to take a really close look at our capital improvement program, all our capital improvement budget, and really see how we can prioritize projects, how we can really allocate funding where it's needed in order for projects to move forward. So what we did, and this you'll remember because we came to you several times, was City Council did approve an increase to the sewer rates. And this obviously is going to be a big boost for what it is that needs to get done. And this you're going to see in the slides that are coming, that we're really pushing for making major repairs of our sanitary sewer infrastructure. Also, what we're doing here is a part of the process of this budget will be to provide you where we stand with carryovers. Carryovers has been a conversation that's come up quite a bit lately. And what we're showing, we're opening the books and we're showing you exactly what we have. We're showing you what it is that we're trying to do, and again, how we're trying to reallocate funds in order to really push projects forward. As of April 1st, we have approximately $66 million in carryover. Now, all of this carryover really is a sum of all funding sources. So some of this, obviously, some of this is general fund, some of this is Measure G, Measure E, but it also includes development impact fees. It also includes grants that we've received. So this is the sum of it all. Approximately 45% of this is within what we could call, streets, sidewalks, and related projects. So this is everything, everything that relates to streets other than the underground infrastructure. Because again, what we were talking about earlier was we've already addressed sanitary sewer with the rate increase. And what you're seeing on this table here is just a breakdown of where the balance is based on departments. Okay, so when we talk about CIPs and when we talk more specifically about street infrastructure, we are mainly talking about outside funds. And these are the projections that Finance has provided with regards to these outside funds. This is primarily what's being used to fund improvements that we make to the infrastructure. It's our gas tax, Measure X, and SB1. As you see, the totals kind of range in the $14–15 million range per year. This is significantly less than what we need, and obviously there's certain limitations that come with each one of these as well, because we can't necessarily turn around and say, oh, we're going to use this for sewer or repairs or anything like that. So there's certain limitations that come with these funds, and we can't necessarily say that we're fully funded in any way for a lot of our projects. Okay, next one. It's not changing. Now we're doing it at the same time. Okay. So here you'll find what the recommendations are for the next fiscal year 26-27. Some of the key projects that we want to highlight, like I said earlier, is the sanitary sewer improvements. We are currently, actually as of today, we should be receiving proposals for the Lake Street pump station. And we will be presenting that to City Council before the end of the year. Either state or federal funds have come in for those projects. Now for fiscal year 27-28, again, you see sanitary sewer being at the top of that list. And then John Street, Hardin Safe Routes to School, and street preventative maintenance. So it's a pavement project. But again, John Street and Hardin are those grant-funded projects. Now let's do this. This overview basically provides you kind of just a layout of where we are for the different, since this is a biannual CIP budget, it just lays out for you where the focus of some of these projects are. Again, when we are talking streets and sidewalks, we are talking many times more than just the pavement condition. We are talking about other facilities that are on streets. And when I started, I did tell you that we did really do a deep dive into the CIP, into that carryover budget. And what we did, we looked at where we could reallocate some of these funds so that we could use them. Now, right now, we do have a budget. You'll see in your documents, we do have a budget for pavement maintenance of about $10.3 million. We are right now currently bidding the Abbott Street improvements, and those are estimated to be higher than that $10.3 million. So we did, in all our review of these funds, we did come up with $3.4 million, which we are requesting the Finance Committee to take a look at. And the request really is for you to provide recommendation. I know it's not clearly identified here, but we are requesting that you provide recommendation as to how best to use the $3.4 million that we have found that might be reallocated. Our recommendation, obviously, is to put it into street preventative maintenance and possibly to Baranda Road, as those are projects that are ongoing. Baranda Road, we are in hopefully the tail end of that construction of phase 1. And then the next phase is we have already received proposals for that second phase, so we are close to beginning the design of that second phase. But when we talk about the budget and where we are, we have been receiving a lot of requests from the public. There's been requests for sidewalks, there's been requests for pavement, there's been a lot of requests for traffic calming. So one of the items that we do want to have that open discussion with the Finance Committee is really to get your recommendation, whether we do look at some of the other options, whether we do look at, do we take that $3.4 million and do we apply it to pavement? Do we take that $3.4 million and maybe fully fund all of the pending traffic calming requests? Right now, we estimate traffic calming, if we what we did, the exercise we did was we took a look at, how much would it take for us to basically clear the slate? And we took a look at that, and we estimated that to be about $2 million. So that's also an option that we would like to have that conversation with the Finance Committee. So with that, the staff recommendation, the Finance Committee receive the presentation and provide input on the city manager's preliminary biennial fiscal year 26-27, 27-28, general fund operating and capital budgets. And we're here to answer any questions.
Thank you. All right. Margaret?
Well, I think you ended up with, you're looking for our recommendation or discussion on the 3.4 million and what to do with that. I mean, obviously there are lots of options. Traffic calming is a huge priority. Street maintenance is a huge priority, finishing projects. So it's hard for me to sit here today and say, I think we should use it for X, Y, and Z without, I think, a lot of, conversation around that. So I'm not prepared. I think that traffic calming is definitely something that is, there's a need, and I don't know which requests are in there or which ones are pending, and I'd kind of need to see a schedule of that for the estimated 2.2 million. And I'm sure every district has a need for those. And how do we do those effectively and efficiently and, costly as, not costly as possible. So I don't know. I have a lot to think about. It's kind of a lot to throw out at some. I think I'm not prepared at this point to say use it for this or that. But I think there's value in all of the things that you mentioned. I mean, obviously our roads are deteriorating rapidly. Even some of the roads that I grew up on that were beautiful years ago, I drove them today and they're in complete disarray. So there's never going to be enough money to fund all of those road repairs that need to be done. So I'm concerned that we're going to not have enough money to really spread that out effectively. And I know you guys have mentioned that. We're behind and we're not going to catch up anytime soon. So I'm going to defer to Gloria while I chew on this a little bit longer. That's
Sure.
okay. Thank you.
Well, you're deferring to me, and I feel the same way. I feel the same way. Both issues are important to the community. When we were doing the budgets, that's what we heard. Potholes, streets, traffic calming. The traffic is horrendous in this city right now. People need to slow down. So, again, both are important, but I cannot make a decision right now. Yes, I would want to see numbers, how many traffic calming requests. I know there's a lot. And also, well, the streets, we know, it's a problem. A lot of them need to be repaved. Yeah, within the whole city.
Correct.
So I feel the same way.
Okay, couple questions since you're there. So question, so this is the budget going forward. So just our line items, street repairs, pavement, are those up from this year's budget or the same moving forward? Does this budget reflect any sort of increase or kind of steady go, and then we're being asked about the 3.4?
Well, the budget that you're presented today actually reflects the allocation of 2.3 million to the pavement program, and then the rest to the Abbott Street project. But that is what we basically said, okay, this is the funding that we had identified. Staff recommendation was to put it, to allocate it that way. But of course, I mean, we understand, we hear the request. And also, we're looking at, like we said, we're looking at how can we prioritize these projects to move forward, quickly.
No, and I understand that. My question is, for instance, last year, we through council input, we ended up, as I recall, a couple $1 million for sidewalks and then the 4 million for Abbott. So that was where we kind of leaned into pavement management a bit more last year. So this year, so I'm simply asking in terms of what we had budgeted. So this year, the new additional opportunity is the 3.4 million.
Thank you for the question, Mayor. So what, the prior year, we allocated a lot of fund balance. We had a pretty high fund balance in those roads funds. This year, we've basically depleted most of the fund balance. So what we're allocating now is what resources we think are coming in. So I wouldn't say that the budget, the increase is as drastic this year, but we are allocating, or we're recommending that an allocation of the resources that we're projecting and the state is projecting to have come in to be allocated accordingly.
No, and I understand that, and I understand, recognize, and applaud that being done. Just from the community standpoint, are they essentially realizing the opportunity of an additional $3.4 million, and then we'll provide input, regardless of where the funding comes from. There's an opportunity, for the civic equivalent of new and improved, we have more money than we did last year, presuming. So,
Correct.
Okay, so
And
that's
this is in
just-
addition to, yes.
Okay, great. That's what I wanted to know. And then when we do comments, I'll just share my thoughts on the 3 point. Well, no, I'll go ahead and say it now because I think questions and comments tend to flow together anyway. I think the critical thing is from the public standpoint, is they want more resources in this area, and we want to support that. What I would just say as a thought, and I know there'll be more input, whether it's the full council or traffic commission or et cetera. I think what Adriana talked about, can you clear the decks on a priority? Because I can tell you my recollection when I was the mayor the first time on CDBG projects, and it was kind of challenging because sometimes when you get into things like Williams Road, which had a big price tag, well, you could never get there. So you'd say, well, what can I get done now? And so like, okay, this is great. I got three smaller things taken care of, but the big thing kept getting pushed back. And so that, but I think, on one hand, you can go, well, do a third, and a third. Or it would be interesting to know what really solves a problem. So so I think the idea, the reality is we're talking about a $300 million problem. So what we're really talking about is where we'd like to make some progress. But that said, I think the approach of, okay, here's what you're looking at, because I think it's important, and for instance, there's a perception with Measure G. General funds were never designed to deal with all infrastructure problems. You laid out nicely, this is typically how these things are done. But just as we kind of move the process forward, I think kind of showing, hey, streets really look like this, because it allows us to help explain, if you can't get to all the streets, do we love patching? And everybody loves to talk about potholes, and that can be an endless conversation. But for instance, we might want to do more patching and less potholes because we can't do streets. And by the way, people don't understand the difference between we got to go 3 inches rather than 6 inches so I think we have to use this as an educational moment before we make the decision. So that's my question, comment. Thank you for that. Relative to police, is the budget moving forward? Does it reflect also? I saw the deputy chief. Do I see a community outreach officer and an evidence technician in the proposed budget?
So this budget, this recommended budget does not include additional positions. It includes, doesn't include those positions. The 4 police officers that were previously frozen for a few years. This does include unfreezing those positions, and also deputy police chief. That does include those positions.
Okay. Well, just in terms of input from this mayor, I would like to see those 2 positions.
Okay.
Because I think they are, the chief's community outreach efforts, the solve rates that we're seeing, so that I think some of those things speak to the ability to get evidence in a timely fashion. And I think, and for instance, the recent sideshow deal was really an educational moment for the community, that this is how you solve problems. Things take longer, but I know inquiring minds want to know, because the first read of that was, it happened and we're kind of sitting there helpless, and that was, nothing could have been further from the truth. So this issue of being able to communicate public safety, I think is important. So,
Thank you.
with that, I'll go out and see if anybody has anything from the public. All right, we will Zoom. Jose?
Good afternoon, Jose Guerra, Montreal Community. This is a great meeting. I'm shocked nobody's there. I couldn't make it. I had to do some other personal things, but $3.4 million, a lot of money. To clear the slate or clean the slate clean, $2 million, wow. That's not a whole lot, but if we can get it done for that, it'd be nice. But I'm gonna say, like I say always, Mayor and council members up there, East Salinas has been ignored for a long time, and I'm really tired of it. I'm tired of paying the highest taxes out here. We pay the highest property tax in Montebella, matter of fact. We pay all the bonds out here. We have 4 bonds we pay for. And then we pay the Malarus tax and that other tax. That's way too much money for the people living here. We are getting bled to death with taxes, and nothing's getting done with our infrastructure. If you go down Williams Road, horrible. I can't see what lane I'm in. I can't see the crosswalks. We need a beacon crosswalk right there in front of the fire station, because I don't know how many times people almost got run over there. We also need one over there in Gloria's area, over there off, I think it's Ramona or Granada Avenue. Same thing, people will get hit there all the time. We need to put the money where we need to put it, Mayor and council members. We need to start doing this right. Let's do our jobs, let's do this. Let's take this money and put it in the right places. I mean, we should just spend all $3.4 million on infrastructure. Why not? Let's do one road at a time, but let's do something. You guys up there deciding, oh, I don't know, I got to think about it. No, make a decision. Let's do this one and do it. I'm happy with that rather than not knowing what we're doing. Let's get it done. Let's do our jobs, ladies and gentlemen. Please. Thank you all. God bless you. Have a good night.
Okay, Samsung, you're back.
Bueno, mi nombre es Adriana García y de acuerdo al trabajo de voluntarios y del equipo de DHG, nosotros recaudamos más de 1,300 encuestas con la importancia de la comunidad, y sus opiniones fueron basadas en las necesidades de nuestra comunidad, siendo como número 1 la vivienda, el desarrollo comunitario, la infraestructura, servicios municipales y apoyo para jóvenes y ancianos, y como último punto, la seguridad. También me gustaría que se incluyera dentro del presupuesto apoyo y ayuda para la ciclovía y el desarrollo para el activismo de los jóvenes de nuestra comunidad. Por otra parte, el presupuesto debería de incluir también infraestructura para el Distrito 1, especialmente para el este de Salinas. El arreglar una banqueta no es cumplir con las necesidades de nuestra comunidad. Sambor, Garner, Acosta Plaza, Del Monte, el Parque Natividad, entre otras de nuestras calles, están olvidadas. Contar con un presupuesto hasta el 2028 es mucha la espera. Nos gustaría ser incluidos para no seguir esperando. El Distrito 1 merece más atención, por favor. Gracias.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Adriana Garcia, and we are with VHC. And we have been able to gather 1,300 surveys. in those surveys, we can see what the community is focused on and what are the priorities. The priorities are housing is number one. We also want community development, infrastructure, services for the youth and the elderly, and safety is one of the last things that they have mentioned. But we also want to see if they can include in the budget support to ciclovia. We have to also have a budget to develop the activism in our youth. And also we have to include infrastructure for District 1, that is the east of Salinas. Just fixing a sidewalk is not enough. We have a lot of places that need help, like for example, Sanborns del Monte, Natividad. They keep forgetting to invest in District 1 and waiting for the budget of 2028, that is too long of a wait. So please pay attention to District 1. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. With that, we'll go ahead and close public comment and any final, and we just want to, we're just providing feedback. Okay. All right. Any final comments or direction, Margaret?
Well, I think I'm pretty squared away on the sewer piece of it. I think where I'm getting, and the CIP, I think where I'm getting hung up on is some of the numbers around the traffic calming and the pavement, because on page 7 it says, City Council allocated, this is last November, $173,000 to traffic calming projects, securing a $1 million balance. And then they went to the Traffic Commission. I did not get a report on that, so I don't know what was said at that meeting, but they calculated the traffic calming request to be $2 million. So the number just keeps growing, and it doesn't seem consistent to me. I see now where you came up with the 2 million, but, and then streets and sidewalks over the next 2 years is $27 million. So those are just a lot of numbers that are not kind of jiving with me maybe. And I appreciate all the work on this. I'm not complaining. There's just a lot of information. It's a little bit hard for me to understand in this format where it's written versus kind of, I'm better maybe at charts and graphs than I am at just a lot of verbiage. So I'm getting a little muddled up in it. So I need more time. And I know budget is a time-sensitive subject, but I'm not prepared to make a recommendation this time.
Okay. Gloria?
Well, I will echo. I feel the same way. But other than that, I'm okay with it, with the rest of it. But yeah, I have a problem with that.
Renee?
So let me add just a couple of things. So this is actually good feedback, so we'll present it differently or more descriptive. But essentially, what we're asking is, as our city engineer explained, there was an exercise to go through and look at kind of what we were doing. Last year, the council, you did approve using some of the unspent fund balance to do more robust projecting. One of those projects was Abbott. And so from an Abbott perspective, we're looking at, it's going to be more than $10 million that we have aside. So that actually could be one of the reserves. You could reserve the additional 3 because we think it's going to be more. So that's one alternative. Then we started looking at other opportunities that we keep hearing on a regular basis. One of the easiest ones to quantify was traffic calming. So every year the city has set aside money for traffic calming, and we go through the process, projects get submitted, they're evaluated, and then we set it up and we try to do 1 or 2 or as many projects as we can with the funding that was set aside. Typically is 2 or 3, maybe some years 4 projects that we got in the queue based on what was set aside. So when we looked at the list, I was like, okay, can you quantify this list that we have? And what would it take on average per project, and what projects we would do? So that's where that $2 million came from, and that list. So that's where it came from. So the idea that we're trying to do, and we'll do a better job in the budget presentation, is just here's one option. It's easy to quantify. The pothole discussion is a little harder to quantify just because it goes into pavement management and so forth. So $2 million would not be that all significant. It will help us move the needle, but again, on the sidewalks discussion, we will be having a discussion on sidewalks. Where we're at with sidewalks, with all the requests that have come in over the decades, we tell folks that we're at 2003. And so that's not a satisfactory answer. And every time I tell the council members that, they're not happy with me because that's what we're telling you, because we're not moving the needle forward. So part of what we have to do in sidewalks is relook at how do we reset that whole sidewalk improvement. So that's a future conversation with Traffic Commission. But so that was harder to sort of quantify. So we were looking at opportunities to quantify, and frankly, traffic calming, because we have lists that come in, projects that are submitted, and they're evaluated. So we can tell you of the 50 projects that we have on the list, we think we can do 40. Those are the ones that we recommend doing. The bottom 10, they're not quite there yet. As far as we got 40 out of that are more unsafe than these 10, based on the metrics on reports, traffic, and a bunch of things that we look at. So that was the idea with the traffic calming, to try to say, is there something that we can sort of put brackets around and say, okay, here's something, and we'll reset. There'll be future traffic calming projects, but at least we won't be starting with a list of 60 and adding another one, right? So we will be resetting from ground floor moving forward. That was the whole idea with that. But you are absolutely right. When you look at the big numbers, and they're not sufficient on some of the other projects that we have, we're really keying on the projects that are not federal and state funded, because that money's for those. So we're keying on, can we finish projects with Measure G, gas tax, Measure X and SB1? And then can we add others to just finish the project, right? And so that's how we're trying to sort of, and that's where when the city engineer was talking about, okay, here's where we're at. And Abbott's a major project. We're trying to finish phase 1 of Miranda. There's other projects that we have in the queue, but can we do something now? And I can totally appreciate, it's like, okay, I need a little more time to think about it. I need the information presented a little differently so I can be able to, give feedback on the prioritization, because that's what we're asking you to do. So we will present the information a little different, but that's with buckets, you'll see it. And that's the whole idea. The whole idea with lists is we have all these lists. We just do. And can we clear something? I mean, honestly, that to me was is this a manageable thing that we can just clear the deck? So that's where we got to traffic calming.
Thank you, I appreciate that. That does explain a lot. I guess in my mind, I'm thinking of, because we're a complaint-based system, which I have a really hard time with, if there's a certain amount of money that's budgeted for traffic calming, let's say, it's $10 million or whatever that, wonderful number might be, that, each district would be able to take some of that money and put it towards a particular area, a school in their area or whatever. So I think, just based on the ones that are already in the system, I don't know how many are in there or where they're located. I know there's projects in my district that probably aren't on that list because people don't know that, they don't know how to report it or how to go about that process. So that's just one of my concerns.
And I can appreciate that, but that's, I'm going to just, a slippery slope, because not all projects and not all concerns or safety issues are the same. And so once we start going, if we go down a path of, even it out over districts, that could be problematic, because we can have some areas that are more unsafe that we're just not handling, which is a council decision. So that's, in trying to do a process or a system, we're trying to get that out of the equation and base it on data, base it on traffic indexes, base it on calls, accidents, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm constantly meeting with community members that have a concern about a street or what they perceive as unsafe. And while it is unsafe, there are other streets that are even more unsafe, right? But I have to be sensitive in how I'm explaining that, because it is a concern to that neighborhood. right? So, kind of how do we work through that?
And I'd like to clarify our annual budget for the last few years and the projected annual budget that we're recommending is really 200,000 for traffic calming. So we are identifying that based on the list that we have right now, if we were to apply the most basic treatment to that, then we're saying it takes $2 million. We do have a balance right now of about $500,000 in that account, but annually it's 200,000. So just like the city manager said, yes, maybe we can do 2 projects, 3 projects a year, and we will be coming to you at some point because we have been doing outreach and talking to the community. But we are looking at how can we move these projects forward faster, because it is something that, it's a quality of life thing. It's really trying to address these items.
Okay. Well, I think, and I know there's a lot of work. It is preliminary. It's obviously going to be a busy 6 weeks, so I think everyone needs to understand that. So this is kind of a first look under the hood. So I think that's terrific. I think, again, if you take, the three elements: sidewalks, streets, traffic calming. I mean, the reality is, and I know people don't like to hear this, but 3.4 million and a 250 will get you a venti coffee and no street paved. So that may mean you want to reduce it to the council, and I'm not speaking for the council, but the idea of clearing the decks and saying we solved a problem would be a good thing. So it seems to me, understanding the backlog magnitude of each of the 3 things, good. And then, in my mind, it's probably going to come down to, if we can do, let's say for the sake of conversation, 25 more sidewalks and clear the decks on traffic calming, that's demonstrable, that's measurable, and we can point that out. So I think it does speak to understand, what's kind of assigned to everything, and then I'm sure there'll be plenty of additional community input, to make the final decision. So I think you've laid it out in a good fashion. You've recognized the priorities of the community and the council, and just let the process unfold. Would be my final thought. And unless there's anything else, we will see if there's any future agenda items. I know this one will come back around, and so with that, we're adjourned, and we get a whole half-hour break.